Testing, testing, 1, 2, testing. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Testing, testing. Testing, 1, 2, testing.
Let me just tell you who the speakers are going to be and the order of speakers. Our U.S. Attorney, Joseph Nocella, Nocella Jr., will be the first speaker. He's going to be followed by the FBI Assistant Director in Charge, Christopher Rea, R-A-I-A, and then following the FBI, Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz. At the conclusion of her remarks, we'll open it up to questions. We're only taking questions about this case, no off-topic questions. So I appreciate your accommodation and understanding on that. We'll have copies of the press release and the detention memo on the table to the right. You're going to see in the detention memo, there's some good pictures in there. You're going to see that during the press conference too. And my favorite picture there is the counterfeit Social Security card in which the defendants superimposed their faces on the card. And they were so proud of the counterfeiting work that they did. And that picture is hilarious. If anybody wants copies of these pictures, we set up a Dropbox. So just send me and/or Denise Taylor an email, and we'll send you an invitation to the Dropbox. It's a better quality picture than taking it off of the detention memo. All the pictures are in the detention memo that you'll see on the screen here during the press conference. Okay, so we're going to be announcing 8 gang members and associates charged in the indictment. The indictment is unsealed. We'll have copies of that for you also. But most of the information is in the press release and the detention memo. That's where you'll get all of your details. Okay? It's Denise, D-E-N-I-S-E, .Taylor, T-A-Y-L-O-R, @usdoj.gov. Okay? I'm going to bring the speakers in now. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, see you in a couple of minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Joe Nocella, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, and I welcome everybody to this press conference. I thank you for joining us. With me today are Christopher Rea, the Assistant Director in charge of FBI's New York Field Office, the Queens District Attorney, Melinda Katz, as well as my office's prosecution team, Assistant United States Attorneys Laura Bauman, Andy Palacio, and Camille Amiri. We're here today to announce the arrests and the racketeering indictment of 8 members and associates of the violent 18th Street Gang, or simply, as they like to refer to themselves, 18th Street. For a long time, they have controlled or attempted to control a stretch of Roosevelt Avenue in Jackson Heights, Queens, through a pattern of violence. The gang's reign of violence ends today. We're charging 8 members and associates of the gang, including its leader and multiple senior members, with racketeering and violent crimes in aid of racketeering, including narcotics trafficking, firearms trafficking, extortion, counterfeiting, and fraud. The defendants who are going to be arraigned today are charged with brutal assaults of several victims from December 2021 up until recently. These assaults are directly connected to their membership in the 18th Street Gang. In one particularly horrific example, the defendants pulled a man out of a bar. They stabbed him repeatedly. One defendant held the victim down while another defendant continued to kick him. They left behind in the alleyway a broken body and a pool of blood. This attack is only one of many that have been charged in the indictment. What's more, the gang's choice of weapons demonstrates just how far they will go to terrorize their victims and to maintain what they consider control of what they consider to be their territory along Roosevelt Avenue. They will use anything from guns to metal pipes to knives to baseball bats and any other type of weapon that they know they could use either to terrorize victims or to put people in fear. In addition to the crimes that have been mentioned already in this press conference, namely the assaults upon victims which have caused horrific physical violence, the basic revenue generation of the 18th Street Gang is to maintain control, as I indicated, over what they think is their particular territory within Queens and to commit more crimes that generate money for them. For years, they've operated what might be regarded as an open-air market in counterfeiting, specifically counterfeit currency, which in and of itself is a form of not merely counterfeiting, but also a revenue generator per se. They've also engaged in counterfeiting various documents such as driver's licenses, social security cards, and passports. Perhaps most brazenly of all, this gang actually took its members' photos and superimposed them upon a fraudulent social security card. The scale of the gang's operation is best represented by the level of its organization. They had specific designated areas where they maintained their counterfeiting equipment and the personnel who actually engaged in the physical actions of counterfeiting documents. They also had specified persons performing particularized tasks, demonstrating a level of organization and sophistication that would allow them to perpetrate their crimes. In addition to the counterfeiting, in addition to the assaults, they've also, as indicated, engaged extensively in narcotics trafficking. The narcotics trafficking happened to be at both the dealer level as well as at the level of a street user. Finally, the gang engaged in not only acts of fraud, but also acts of extortion that included extortion against rival gangs within the vicinity. Despite what the gang believes, Roosevelt Avenue is not their territory. It is all of ours. The area must not be known as a center of criminality. It should be known for exactly what it truly is: a vibrant community where hardworking families live, work, and send their children to school. Today's charges are an important step in making Roosevelt Avenue and the surrounding community safer. Our investigation has revealed a great deal of evidence that indicates the extent of the gang's crimes. However, I encourage anyone who has any information to come forward if they have knowledge, not merely of what has been charged in the indictment, but knowledge of other crimes that may yet be under investigation but have not yet been revealed, or which may as yet be unknown. I want to commend the many victims who did come forward and did report to law enforcement their stories. Prosecutions like this would not be possible without the bravery of the citizens, of the people of the city who came forward and were willing courageously to tell their stories. My office, the Department of Justice, our local law enforcement partners, and others will continue to work tirelessly to protect not only the people who lived in the area of that stretch in Jackson Heights that the gang believed belonged to them and does not belong to them, but to make all our communities safe for all New Yorkers. In addition to my team, I'd like to give special thanks to the FBI's New York Metro Safe Street Task Force, to the NYPD's 110th and 115th Precinct, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the United States Secret Service, the U.S. Department of Labor, and of course the Queens County District Attorney's Office. At this time, I'm going to turn the conference over to Christopher Rea, who, as I indicated to you, was the FBI Assistant Director in Charge. Chris?
Thank you, Joe. Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Rea, the Assistant Director in Charge of our New York field office. These arrests represent yet another example of the FBI's commitment to crushing the violent transnational gangs plaguing our communities. The FBI New York's Metro Safe Streets Task Force, in partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, the NYPD, the Queens County District Attorney's Office, successfully investigated and disrupted these 9 violent members and associates of the 18th Street Gang, a violent transnational criminal organization that has sown seeds of fear and destruction in a busy commercial corridor along Roosevelt Avenue in Jackson Heights, Queens, for years. The federal indictments announced today include charges of racketeering conspiracy, narcotics and firearms trafficking, trafficking of fraudulent identification documents, extortion, and assaults in aid of racketeering. As alleged, these individuals relied on violence, including assault of innocent civilians and rival gang members, to exert and maintain control of their territory. As the U.S. Attorney stated, these operations were financed through other criminal activity, such as drug dealing, trafficking and producing fraudulent documents and counterfeit money, and extorting illegal businesses for rent. Let me be clear. Those arrested today acted and behaved with callous and cruel disregard for those around them, as we allege. Together with our law enforcement partners, and in conjunction with the director's priority of crushing violent crime, we're determined to disrupt and dismantle vicious transnational gangs like the 18th Street across the region by relying on intelligence-driven investigations and teamwork. We simply cannot do this alone, and we will continue to attack these violent gangs with an all-of-law enforcement approach, utilizing local, state, and federal assets. Utilizing this task force model, we will continue getting drugs and weapons off our streets, putting violent criminal offenders behind bars, and delivering justice to our communities that need it. Together, we're committed to ending the senseless violence these criminal organizations rely on to terrorize our neighborhoods. The tireless dedication and work of the FBI's Metro Safe Streets Task Force made today's actions possible. Those men and women of that task force put their lives in danger every day so the rest of the citizens don't have to. I'd also like to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Newark, specifically the U.S. Attorney himself and his prosecutors for their tireless efforts in bringing those to justice. Additionally, I want to extend my appreciation to the NYPD, who we partner with extensively on cases of this nature. I'd also like to extend my appreciation to District Attorney Melinda Katz and the Queens District Attorney's Office, the Department of Labor, Office of the Inspector General, the United States Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security, and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement in enforcement and removal operations. Today's success is only possible because of the efficient and effective partnership across the entire law enforcement community. As I close, I want the public to know this is not a one-and-done investigation in Roosevelt Ave. We will continue to aggressively work that area to ensure the citizens of that community are provided a safe environment to live. Thank you, and I'm now going to turn it over to the Queens DA, Melinda Katz.
Let me thank U.S. Attorney Nocella. Let me thank the FBI, especially Christopher Rea and the police that have worked so hard on this case as well. Look, we're all here together with one clear message. Nobody owns the streets of New York. Nobody owns the streets of Queens County. We will make sure that as gangs develop and as they form and as they believe that they have a right to communities or a right to throw the community out of the areas that they are in, we will dismantle those gangs. We will make sure it's safe for our communities. And we will work together on the federal and the state and the city level to make sure that that is done in a timely fashion. And as gangs are dismantled, like this 18th Street gang and the chokehold that they have on Roosevelt Avenue, you can better believe that we will still be out there, the U.S. Attorney will still be out there, the FBI will still be out there, making sure that whatever develops there will be dismantled as quickly as they are formed. I want to thank all that were involved today. Roosevelt Avenue has been the subject of a lot of press lately and a lot of discussion lately. These individuals that were indicted have been brutalizing the area, stealing people's properties, selling drugs, trafficking fraudulent IDs, counterfeiting documents, and they're accused of doing that particularly in Queens County around Roosevelt Avenue. This is a place where people should be able to walk their kids to school, where you should be able to go to senior centers in the neighborhood, where you should be able to go shopping without worrying that 18th Street or any other gang has a hold on that community and will make it unsafe for people simply to lead their daily lives. Gang members don't care who gets caught up in the crosshairs of their violence. They don't care which communities they are infiltrating, and they certainly don't care what happens with the kids that are trying to utilize the same streets that they claim to own. So we will provide round-the-clock support as the DA's office to the U.S. Attorney's Office, to the FBI, when it comes to cooperating on taking down gang activity in the community. We've also invested, just FYI, on the other side, to make sure that young people who are coming up through the schools right now, the junior high schools and the high schools, understand that there are different families than gangs. They are not your chosen family. They cannot be chosen as the family that you choose to grow up with. That we provide the resources and youth coordinators and community organizations as well. But today is about taking down a dangerous gang. Today is about making sure that we dismantle these gangs as soon as they are formed and dismantle the chokehold that they have on the streets. I think the U.S. Attorney put it well. Nobody owns our streets. You cannot claim that. We will not allow it. And I thank the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, and everybody else that was involved in this takedown.
Okay, if anybody has any questions, yes. Well, it's a stretch of Roosevelt Avenue, and it varied at any given time because it all depended upon the number of gang members and how far they chose to walk up and down and, in one way or another, assert what they regarded as their influence, including, for example, when they met someone they didn't know, asking if that person was a member of the gang. They did engage in extortion, and beyond what has been revealed publicly in the indictments, I'd rather not comment on the full extent to which they have been engaging in extortion on Roosevelt Avenue. So you'll have information that has been provided in the publicly disclosed documents, but I'd rather not go beyond that because our investigation, as DA Katz also indicated, is still ongoing. Yes? The first question that you're asking is something that is difficult to answer because the size of the gang and its provenance and its growth are constantly in flux, and they are constantly part of an ongoing investigation. So we're not in a position to be able to give you the specifics in terms of just how large the gang is. They recruit, they continue to recruit, they continue, or they attempted to continue to grow. So I can't give you any more details other than what has been revealed publicly. Again, there's a large portion that is part of an ongoing investigation. It's very common in this district with our law enforcement partners for us to be taking down gangs and gang activity. And that has been one of the priorities of the current administration. So this is consistent with the current administration. And my answer to your second question is very simply that this investigation is independent of, but consistent with, everything that has been requested by the administration. Yes?
So, a couple of questions. How lucrative and widespread was the counterfeiting operation? How much money was it bringing in from the counterfeit?
Again, there are certain details about the investigation that we're not prepared to reveal at the press conference. It's a very fair question. To some extent, you'll find that the public documents do reveal that these were, in each instance, whether it was narcotics trafficking, whether it was firearms trafficking, or whether it was counterfeiting, they were highly profitable. It was a profit center for the gang, but the specifics and all the details, again, are still part of the ongoing investigation.
I don't know if this is going to get the same sort of answer, but can you talk about how long this particular investigation went on, and if there was any specific flashpoint or community tip or something that got the ball rolling?
I'm sorry, but no, I can't reveal that. Anyone else?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice job.
I'm so sorry I didn't mention my name. Did I pronounce all the names correctly?
Good job.